watching this from the confinements of your home, and if not, you should probably go home right now. Help us to fight COVID-19. And to do this, you can take simple measures. Practice good hand washing techniques. You can also wear the appropriate protective gear, and then self-isolation. Now, I know that self-isolation sounds like a nuisance, but you know what's worse? Contracting as well as spreading the disease. So help us in fighting this disease. And finally, be responsible. If you're having symptoms, call the hotline and then go for testing. Help us to fight this.
We're out of time. Now they're chatting to each other.
I can see. Whatever they are enjoying. Hello.
Good morning, citizens of Namibia. Welcome to our daily update at the COVID-19 Communication Center at 10 o'clock. This morning, we are talking about how the country as a whole has tried to mitigate the further spread of the coronavirus. And to do this, I'm joined by the various governors in every region in the country to then talk about how they have coped with COVID-19 in their region and what mitigating factors they're putting in place. But before we do that, I would like to call upon a bishop, Bishop Morgan from the Methodist Church, to give us a short scripture reading and a prayer before we start with today's discussion. Bishop.
Thank you. We read this morning from Psalm 130. From the depths of my despair, I call to you, Lord. Hear my cry, O Lord. Listen to my call for help. If you kept a record of our sins, who could escape being condemned? But you forgive us so that we should stand in awe of you. I wait eagerly for the Lord's help, and in his word I trust. I wait for the Lord more eagerly than watchmen wait for the dawn. Israel, Namibia, trust in the Lord, because his love is constant and he is always willing to save. Let us pray. You are our hope, Lord. We come to you in faith, praying for a world in an extreme situation and a continent holding its breath for the next months. We give thanks to you for so many who are offering themselves sacrificially for the good of their community. We are grateful that leaders across the borders we can't cross in these days are working together to find a path for us. We give thanks for those who work tirelessly in leadership and governance, those who work in medicine and safety, those who work in retail and sanitation to make our lives bearable. Good Shepherd of the sheep, hear our prayers today for those who are afraid and those who are frustrated and those who are depressed. Hear our prayers for parents whose children are far away and at risk somewhere in the world. Hear our prayers for those who are hungry and unsure of their jobs. Here are our prayers for students who are confused about where this year will take them. Lord, we pray for this nation and all its regions, from the Kunene region to Zambezi to Karas, for our people everywhere in this time of global uncertainty. Hear our prayer, Lord, for all governors and regional councils, for wisdom and courage at this time when threat of illness and vulnerable economies and the need for human dignity intersect. We pray for those who must make decisions in an uncharted space for the well-being of the nation. May they recognize your living presence like Mary did at the tomb, when she thought there was no hope and no life, and then hearing you say, do not be afraid. We pray for all those who suffer at this time, physically, mentally, and spiritually. May they recognize your living presence like Thomas, who touched your hands and believed. We pray for all who feel alone and isolated, those diagnosed with COVID-19, those in quarantine, and those who just feel alone at home. May they recognize your living presence like the two who walked home to Emmaus, and you came to them and warmed their hearts. Merciful God, accept these our prayers today in and through the name of the living Christ. May we too recognize your living presence, and may it fill us with hope, faith, and above all, with love. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Bishop Charmaine Morgan, for that scripture reading and prayer. We appreciate it. Thank you. We now ask the Minister of Health, Dr. Kalumbu Shangula, who's also in our midst, to give us our daily health update on any new developments. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology. I announced that we still have 16 confirmed cases. As per previous updates, it is now 21 days without Namibia have recorded a new positive case. I also announced that we have recorded one new recovery, which brings the total number of recoveries to 8. This is case number 8, which is the contact of case number 3, who also have recovered. No deaths have been recorded to date in Namibia due to COVID-19. All the 8 remaining cases, they are in a very stable condition. And so far, the 2 laboratories, NIP and Pathcare, collectively have tested 828 samples, have received 828, of which 704 tests were processed. And yesterday, 32 tests were done, and all of them were negative, including the one which I have just announced as a recovery after 2 consecutive negative tests. So far, 218 contacts were identified from the 16 positive cases. And they have been monitored, and no adverse event has been recorded. Now, if we move on to the quarantine information, we have a total of 11 new arrivals in our quarantine facilities, which bring the total number of all the people quarantined to 577. 355 have completed their quarantine time and discharged, and we remain with 222 throughout, who are scattered among all our quarantine facilities throughout the country. I just want to remark that we are making very good progress in our fight against COVID-19. And I would once more like to call on the public to adhere to the measures in place so that eventually we can defeat this invisible enemy. So that's the update for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen at home and those here at the center. Very good news. We have now 8 recoveries and also 8 active cases, and up to date, no deaths. And the 16 active cases since day 1 to date, the 21st, is a good way to show that perhaps we are making progress in flattening the curve. So thank you very much, Dr. Kalumbi Shangola, for that update. Like I've said earlier, today we're talking about how all the regions in the country have mitigated the effects of COVID-19. And here in studio to join me is Honorable Laura McLeod Kachira, you know, as the governor of Khomas region, who will be in studio with me. However, we have regional governors who will be joining us via Skype as well as call-ins. We do have governors that were not able to do this because due to unforeseen circumstances, but we do ensure that we have a holistic view of how each region is fairly managing the spread of COVID-19. I would now like to start with you, Honorable Governor. At this point, how has the region, especially now that Khomas region is one of the highly populated regions in the country, how has it been affected, and what have been the mitigating measures that your region have put in place to ensure that every resident of the region is taken care of during this time, but also we really try to prevent the spread of COVID-19?
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister, Deputy Minister, and thank you for having me. Good morning, Namibia. Yes, I'm sure Namibia by now is aware that out of the 16 cases that are travel-related, 11 of them are in Khomas region. So obviously, Khomas region has strengthened its coordination by activating the regional disaster risk management that sits at least once per week. And that also leads to the activation of the disaster risk management at the constituency level that also sit once per week, and the collaboration with the constituency councillors' offices to identify the tent sites for screening purposes, and that one is in working progress. Equally, under the coordination, there is a coordination in terms of staffing, finances, training, and supervision for the new staff for COVID-19 facilities. And we have also looked at the issue of information and publicity. I should proudly report to you that Khomas Regional Council has provided this facility for the purpose of information center, and this is the venue that is being referred to as Kovambo Nuyoma Hall. Posters were also received from the Ministry of Health and distributed to our different constituencies. Khomas has got 10 constituencies. There are also increased effort on social mobilization and calming down the public awareness in all the regional structures. Khomas Regional Council preparedness also include the airport screening, which is in place at Hosea Kutako International Airport, Eros International Airport, and screening at roadblock, for example, CAs, and we have also added CAs just at the time of the lockdown. For screening purposes, Robert Mugabe Clinic was closed as a general clinic and converted to a screening, testing, and treatment center for mild cases of COVID-19, and that clinic was open on the 19th of March. NDF Mobile Hospital erect an equipment equipped for treatment of mild cases that we know is at Hosea Kutako International Airport. Quarantine places were identified as, for example, at Hayes Lounge, Swiss Chalets, and Rio Guest, in collaboration, of course, with the national level. Now, training is also taking place at state clinics and referred to Robert Mugabe for clinic for cases that meet any case definition. Screening also take place at Katutura Hospital. Emergency response team were activated towards COVID-19 and subcommittees created to address the situation. Isolation facilities are also available at Hosea Kutako International Airport and Windhoek Central Hospital with 18 beds. Now, I must also report and use this venue to say that Ramatex has been offered by the city of Windhoek to be used as a quarantine center. Under safety and security, permanent and mobile roadblocks are conducted within the region. And I must say that a total number of 121 suspects were arrested in terms of these regulations, and a total of over 146,000 Namibian dollars fines were paid for those who have been found guilty. Directors of proceeding underwater provision to our communities. 66 water tanks were installed and 5 more tanks are required in Windhoek Rural. That is one of our constituencies that is in the periphery of Windhoek City. Water supply tanks, the city of Windhoek has so far supplied 1.9 million liters of water to Khomas region communities. And underwater service connection, city of Windhoek have connected water services to all those who were disconnected. They are currently, all of them are reconnected. And maintenance of existing water infrastructure. In Windhoek Rural constituency, so far 15 boreholes have been drilled. Installed was done at 19 sites, which represent 9 tanks, 4 kettle troughs, and 6 solar systems. And food provision, which is actually the issue in Khomas region. You have seen what happened yesterday right here. I must say that Khomas Regional Council have identified 57,010 beneficiaries, and only 34,091 beneficiaries has been verified out of that big number. And a total of 6,622 of the verified beneficiaries has been allocated the food parcels so far. Food distribution as from the 30th of March 2020, the parcel amounted to 7,210 were received from the office of the OPM and the donors. Altogether amounted to 7,210, which means that the OPM office availed to us 5,373 food parcels, and from the donors we received 1,037 food parcels. So far, 7,210 of the received food parcels were distributed to the right beneficiaries, so identified by our constituency structures. And then the reopening of the open markets. The city of Windhoek have envisaged to open the following 4 formal markets, informal markets on Monday, the 27th of April, 2020, which is actually tomorrow. And these markets are as follow. Soweto Market in John Pandeni constituency, Lieta Market in Topia Sainyeko constituency, Okahanja Open Market in Topia Sainyeko, Oshetu Market in Katutura Central constituency. And these markets will only be open after proper renovation, disinfection, and improved the overall standard of the current situation of those markets. Until we think that we are ready and prepared, and also after the Ministry of Health have verified that the markets are ready for being opened. So we envisaged that tomorrow the markets will be opened. The market will be disinfected and traders will be provided with soap, sanitizers, masks, and gloves. Trading hours will be only from 8 o'clock to 1700 hours in the afternoon. There will also be regular inspection, education, and awareness section at our 4 markets, and obviously all the others that will follow suit. The market will operate under strict application of Government Gazette 24 April 2020. I must also report here that Psychosocial Support Group relocated people without shelter, now housed at Khomas Stadium, and at Khomas Stadium we have 95 of them, and the others were relocated to Katutura Youth Center. That stands at a number of 271 as of current, and this is the number that is until yesterday. Obviously at these centers we are like almost receiving every day. And the governor's office, I must also report that we have contributed by giving people without shelter at least a number of 70 blankets. But it's as much as we are trying to do what we have done to cope with the COVID-19, we have also many challenges. And just to mention a few of those challenges is that lack of resources, personal protective equipments, limited testing kits, and some equipment are very difficult to obtain, but nevertheless, maybe we'll get there when we'll hear from our line ministry. Lack of space and centers for quarantine, lack of sufficient food for staff, as well as for the vulnerables within the region, and that is why we see people scrambling for food, because there is no time that we had enough to distribute. Every time we are having little, and imagine distributing 50 food parcels to at least, say, talk about 1,000 beneficiaries. And the next time you receive another 20, by the time you come back with the 20, obviously the ones that receive the first round may equally come back and queue and say, I'm also equally hungry. So we found ourselves in that situation. But nevertheless, donors are on board and we are trying to do what we can do. And the public fear and misinformation over social media is very difficult to control. And on the way forward, we have also decided that all donations should be channeled through the office of the CRO of the Khomas Regional Council for receiving, recording, and further distribution to the constituency offices. And that was exactly the event of yesterday. The purpose was just for us to receive from the donors and not necessarily to distribute to the beneficiaries. But at the end of the day, they heard what we were saying and they left, so we'll deal with the issue as it comes. More support is needed to strengthen public awareness and community engagement regarding COVID-19. Water supply to the public for better infection control is ongoing. We cannot say that we have done enough, but at least we have tried to provide that free water to our communities, but it's not enough. We still have got to do what we can do best. Community communication on correct behavioral practice of both public and business is encouraged, and the public relations officer for OMAS and private entities should identify their awareness campaign on COVID-19 preventative measures. Comrade Deputy Minister, let me for now say I so submit. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kachura, for that update from the Khomas region, and considering it was one of the first regions, of course, that were on lockdown before the extension, I think that is a holistic view to why what we want to hear was happening in the region. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I now move over to the Erongo region. We have Honorable Neville Itope, who is the Regional Governor of Erongo region, joining us via Skype. Honorable Itope, the question is the same. Of course, you would have a different situation because you only joined the region about a couple of weeks ago. We would like to know from your experience thus far how the Erongo region is coping with the COVID-19 pandemic and what measures have been put in place to date.
And good morning to everybody. The rest of the other governors that are with us in this program. First, let me just start to say that in terms of our overall preparedness, we have the governance structure. And our governing structure, we have sort of put it in place, and that is we have the Regional Disaster Risk Committee, Management Committee, which has been established and is under operation, with the subcommittees on clusters who are also busy every time meeting to brief themselves on their progress. We have the Constituency Disaster Risk Management, the Local Authority Risk Disaster Management Committee, the Village and Settlement Risk Disaster Risk Management Committee. Now, as you might know, is that out of the 16 cases that have been reported, Erongo had 4 cases. And from those 4 cases, we have 1 recovered. And the other 3 are still active cases. And currently we have 28 people under quarantine, and they are mostly seamen and truck drivers. Now, in terms of the health facilities, our preparedness and the surveillance, the committee under the surveillance is responsible for finding specimen collection, testing of samples, and contact tracing. And I should say that this team, they update each other on a daily basis on their platforms to share what is the progress. Furthermore, is that the surveillance committee monitors patients that are under self-quarantine and also on quarantine. We have also established a WhatsApp group in terms of coordination, which is between the private and the public sector doctors to update and identify more screening isolation facilities. The isolation facilities and screening, we have identified isolation facilities in all district hospitals. In Buffers by 26 bed city. In Swakopmund we have 26 bed capacity for isolation. In New South Wales 7 bed facility. Ruru 7 bed. In terms of security preparedness, as you know, the country was divided into zones. And Erongo is zone number 7. And we have mobile and fixed roadblocks in around Erongo region. However, I should mention that the busiest roadblock is the one at Karibe, which has on average about 900 people daily crossing that road, and which is quite a concern for us because it's a lot of people driving through that roadblock. The security cluster also, they have a daily update in terms of people being permitted or permits being issued to people that want to travel. Now, in terms of challenges, the challenges that we are faced is, of course, again, the movement of people in a residential area. We still face that problem. Water is also a challenge in some of our rural parts in our region because some parts have not received good rain. Food distribution is also one of the challenges that we are facing in our region. Some area is not enough, and the protective gears for our health practitioners and also the police is also one of the challenges that we are faced with, and many of our health facilities in the region need ventilators and oxygen tanks. But I could say that all stakeholders in our region are very active, involving in provision of water, food facilities, and updated medical equipment. With regard to the quarantine facilities that we have in our region, we have identified quarantine facilities for patients in Swakopmund and Buffers Bay, as well as for staff members. We have identified those quarantine facilities. I should also say that the private sector, the retail shops, are having screening facilities for their customers as they enter into their shops, and this situation or the conditions that we are faced with, I should also say that we are receiving quite good cooperation from the private sector, who are making it possible for us to at least be able to help in that situation on the ground. The private sector donated protective gears for health officials, materials and labor, food rations on top of what government has been giving. The private sector also came in to assist water tankers and toilet facilities. And in terms of coordinating and also sharing information, we have, which I started yesterday as the first weekly update to the region to look at the situation of COVID-19. The distribution in the country, in my region, it's going on very well. However, we are still also addressing the challenges that we are encountering in collaboration with the local authorities and the local leaders of those areas. And in Swakopmund, we have also identified and secured a facility, accommodation facility for the homeless. That is at the youth hostel, which we are also supporting with the help of other, especially the private sector. And in terms of the impact on our region, this situation that we are faced with have impacted on the economy. That is the tourism sector. As you know, our region heavily rely on the tourism sector. So most of our accommodation facilities, restaurants, tour operators, tour guides, art and craftsmen, airlines are affected heavily. So most employees are affected with the income. Mining is also one of the sectors that is heavily affected in my region. And because most of the exports have reduced. And the open markets, people make a living from the open market. And since the lockdown, the open markets were closed. And now they have reduced income. And that is one of the impact that. But however, with those, the lockdown that we are experiencing, something that also we are learning from this situation is that our country start to look at the issue of food production and manufacturing, and to sort of stop relying on the exports and import from other countries. We need to start creating our own markets and also produce our products. So in terms of just the brief update, that is what we at the region are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Itobe, for that update from the Erongo region. We now move over to the Otjozondjupa region, where we have Honorable James Werikwa, who is also a new regional governor in the region. Honorable James, really the question is the same. As you embarked on your appointment there at the region, how has it been so far in coping with the COVID-19 in your region, and what measures have been put in place to date?
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Thank you, all listeners. The Greater Otjozondjupa region, as you rightfully have put it, in terms of, as of when I've assumed my office, of course, COVID-19 is a key priority as we are having in terms of trying to control and maintain it. We have 142,400 inhabitants in terms of the whole Otjozondjupa region. Now, when you look at first of all, I would like to departure with the impact that is affecting the whole region. The agricultural sector have been highly hit because in terms of, there is a serious reduction in terms of livestock demand, and this eventually it have affected the price per head of animal, and that have in a way affected negatively the economic input and processes that are coming from the agricultural sector. Like my brother Never put it, we have B2 Gold, as mining sector, we have B2 Gold, and we have Ohoro Cement as well. They have been highly hit. They have scaled down their key operation or full-scale operation to just a minimal, where they are just keeping certain operations up and running. So that eventually have affected the income, but not necessarily that they have reduced or they stopped salaries, but in a way their operations thereof are affected, and that diminishes the total contributions that are coming into the region emanating from the mining sector. The tourism sector, as you might be aware, we have Waterberg, we have Gross Barman, and we have Rock Lodge and other lodges within the region. They're highly affected because they are totally locked down, and as a result, the facilities are closed. The staff that were working at these very facilities, in actual fact, as we are talking, most of them are operating from home, either with a skeletal or reduced salary, or some of them totally without salary. And eventually those ones are now the ones that are much lining up as beneficiary in the EIG. The small-scale farmers, as you might be aware, the street vendors, the hawkers and everybody else, the wheelbarrow guy who's pushing mealies, the lady who's sitting in the corner selling fat cakes, all these people have been affected, and as a result they had to stop their operations. And however, following the declaration of the second amendment, in terms of the Regulation 9, the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development came up with the modalities how we have to reopen our markets, and as a result, we are working on modalities as far as that's concerned, but I will come to that. The e-learning process as well, in terms of the education sector, you might be aware that the schools are closed, and every learner was required to go back home, and all the teachers were actually required to be operating from home, and that have affected the education sector very badly. And that is one thing that the region is taking as a priority as well. The crime rate, stock theft, and some of these issues as well, we have noticed some cases here and there, but the police is hard on the floor, hitting the ground running in terms of containing those. Now, when we come to the region itself, we have put in a governing system where we have the Regional Disaster Risk Management Committee that is under the Regional Council, chaired by the chairperson of the council. And then we have fragmented that further into 7 subcommittees. And the various subcommittees are then responsible for various functions within those various subcommittees. So if I can quickly go through the subcommittees, we have Case Management Committee, we have Infectious Control Committee, we have Surveillance Committees. All these committees are actually being chaired by the Ministry of Health, the Chief Medical Officer and the Director of Health, respectively, as they are the one championing those 3 committees. And then you have Information and Publicity Committee that is being chaired by Minister of Information and Communication. This is aimed at awareness creation and, of course, information broadcasting to every inhabitant of the region to ensure that we are all influenced and empowered and well-informed as far as the disease is concerned. We have the Defense, Safety and Security Committee that is run by the 2 clusters being the Ministry of Safety and Security, NAMPOL, of course, and then the Ministry of Defense, Home Affairs and Safety and Security, and of course the Ministry of Defense and Veterans Affairs. These committees are all hands-on and running in terms of ensuring the safety of the region. And one of the key components as far as that committee is concerned is manning the roadblocks and of course controlling the movement of individuals in between the regions. The other committee is a resource mobilization that is within the CRO's office and of course coordinating with the governor's office. And the final committee is a social welfare committee that is under the ministry agenda and all the social welfare components. Going forward, we have divided the entire region in 4 health districts. That is now for ease of operation and of course coordination of our resources and interventions. We have the Okahanja district, we have Grootfontein, we have Chuarongo and Okakarara. But again, Chumkwe is under Grootfontein, but that is a special case altogether because of the challenges that are being experienced, noting the vastness of the region that we are currently in, and we are considering all those factors. Moving on, one of the key issues that I must mention in terms of I would like to departure with the health sector. In the health sector, we have preparation in terms of the isolation and accommodation facilities. We have made this available throughout the region. The purpose of this is to house and accommodate, in terms of isolation, medical personnel that are at the front line in terms of manning and, of course, attending to COVID-related cases. Secondly, we have quarantine facilities, 3 of them in the entire region. It's Grootbarmen, Rock Lodge, and of course, Waterberg. We have identified these as quarantine facilities to be used as of when the need arises. As is in terms of quarantine facilities, we have 39 officials from Deb Marine that were on leave, and they are with their families, and they have to return back to operations, and they are required that they have to quarantine before they go back. So they are doing their 14 days quarantine period, and that is moving, and of course, is being manned by the Ministry of Health. And of course, we are expecting plus minus 49 individuals that will be quarantined at Grootbarmen from South Africa, as we have Namibians who have to be returned back to our country. And of course, we are envisaging that facility to be the one to be providing such a service. So going forward, in terms of the roadblocks that we have under the safety and security, we have 3 roadblocks under COVID. That is now the Okahanja Karibem roadblock, that is Chuarongo Okahanja roadblock, and of course the Dobe Porta Post. Now the Dobe Porta Post, I must indicate, that one is totally closed. There is no movement of traffic in and outside the region. And of course the other 2 are fully functional. But in addition to that, as you might be aware, we have a fixed roadblock that is between Chuarongo and Otapi, and of course and a control roadblock that is instituted by the safety and security cluster itself, that is between Grootfontein, Okamatapeti, all the way to Ochinene. The purpose of this is to ensure that, as you know, our region is actually at the crossroad of the whole country, and approximately 9 regions do pass through our region. Inhabitants do travel through our region, so we have to beef up in terms of our surveillance and our security systems. That's why we have all those roadblocks in place. We also come across a situation whereby, in terms of the health sector, all the health personnel within the region are trained. They have received training in terms of COVID-19 protocols. So that is in terms of the whole health sector. But on top of that, we must indicate that however, we have a shortage of staff or health personnel that we want to beef up per district in terms of the demarcation that we have done. So we need an additional of approximately 5 additional, some of them are specialized personnel at every district. That translated to 20 personnel that we are short in terms of the district. In terms of the transport availability and preparedness, we have 53 vehicles that are already up and running from the health sector. And of course, the Ministry of Works through Government Garage have actually provided 18 vehicles to the safety and security cluster to be used by the military, the army, the police, and of course the correctional services. And as a result, those are the vehicles that are up and running in the region. And so far, we are coordinating to ensure that whatever that we have at our disposal is being used effectively, efficiently. And among these vehicles, I must mention that there are also emergency vehicles, which are 15 of them. And the whole region is having 9 thermal guns. We do not have a single ventilator. Of course, we have put in place measures to communicate this to the necessary structures to ensure that we get that attended to. We have developed what we call a regional response plan. It's a master response plan. The purpose of this plan is to coordinate our resource need and ensure that everything is within the same plan, and the implementation thereof will guide us to how we go and what resources do we need and how best can we get that implemented. In terms of the feeding programs, we have identified so far 31,000 needy community members. And as a result, we are trying our level best, and this is scattered throughout the 7 constituencies of the region. And we are trying our level best to ensure that the minimal resources that we have at our disposal, it really addresses the issue of being given to the real needy community members. As is, the drought relief program have been up and running, and they have done their final distribution in terms of the final round that they were doing last month. But there's a surplus of 3,000 bags of maize meal that will be added to the COVID-19. The region is envisaged to receive 10,218 bags of maize meal, and of course that will be with 5,500 tins of fish for COVID-related feeding program. However, so far we have received 6,800 bags, and of course we are having a shortage of 3,418 bags. So the distribution modality thereof will be then divided among the 7 constituencies as per the needs. And of course, that will be done in accordance. Now, one issue that we are thinking of and that we think is a way that we are going to go, we do not want chaos or any misarrangement in terms of distribution. So we have come up with a modality of doing a door-to-door or house-to-house distribution modality whereby we have identified the needy beneficiaries. We do the delivery straightforward to that beneficiary, as opposed to a situation where we have people clustered together violating the very regulations that we're trying to implement. So we are focusing on that as a way forward in terms of going ahead. The reopening of market, as you might be aware, upon the declaration or the extension of the lockdown to the 4th of May, the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development was accorded the mandate of coming up with modalities as to how we should go about in terms of reopening the informal trading and open markets. And as a result, we had a meeting with the Honorable Minister and the whole team. And of course, from that, the modalities were made known to the regions. As a region, we proactively as well came up with our customized modalities that are in congruence and alignment with that of the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development. And as a result, we have given certain directives in terms of what have to be done at the regional level. For example, we have to come up, of course, we have a database that have to be consolidated. And of course, we have one database in terms of market, who are the staff, who are the vendors, and what kind of product are they trading in. Before the trading is there should be identified designated areas from which the vendors will be operating from. Any street hawker or vendor anybody who was operating from the street will not be permissible. Each local authority is required to come up with a designated area from which the vendors will be operating. Every vendor, and of course an assistant of every vendor, is required to be operating with a permit that will be issued by the very local authority in alignment to the line ministry. Of course, the law enforcement agencies will be manning these facilities. There is a common position in terms of the entrance and the exit to that very trading facility in case it is operational. Then there will be, each customer will be given 5 to 10 minutes in terms of the trading hours within a particular facility. And of course, the products have to be packaged. If they are not packaged, pre-washing of products is very important. And of course, the disinfection and the hygiene part of it have to be the order of the day. Water will be provided by local authority to every vendor and of course every opening market in terms of the designated areas. Sanitizer will be made. It is a requirement that every vendor have to wear a mask, irrespective of where you're operating from. Every assistant thereof have to be wearing a mask. We are ready to open our trading or informal markets in Erongo, Otavi, Grootfontein, and Kahanja, because the awareness creation campaign under the Information and Mobilization Committee have already been done, and of course that's ongoing, and that information is also being done in the local vernaculars to ensure proper comprehension and consumption by the general public. The e-learning, the implementation of the e-learning have been one of the issues that we as a region are coming across. As you might be aware that it is declared that now, on the 20th of April, e-learning have commenced. So far, 347 teachers are doing online teaching lessons. And of course, they have created WhatsApp group with the parents, and from those WhatsApp group, assignments and tasks are being given to children, and children then are required to be responding through videos and so on. There are 878 teachers that are teaching offline. They are preparing packages that eventually the parents will then come and take, and of course be able to go teach their own learners at home. In total, the region is having 50,560 learners, and we have a total of 1,558 teachers in total. Some of the challenges that we are experiencing as far as that is concerned, and I'll come and touch to them, but because of time, I must go to them, is the network coverage. Network coverage is a big component when you talk our rural areas, as you consider the vastness, Chumke, Gam, and all those areas. We have 2G networks. In some areas, totally, there is no network coverage. So where do you leave that person out? So these are modalities that we are going by, and we are looking at them. The number of teachers, some teachers are locked down in other regions, and of course, some other teachers do not have access to some of these facilities. Parents also at household level, they are challenged in terms of their literacy level and rate, and as a result, for them to execute e-learning is a challenge on its own. So those are some of the issues that we are experiencing that are hampering our production and, of course, our implementation of the remote modality. One of the, if I may go up, the modalities that we have, before we go to the modalities, the issue of the income grant.
Yes, briefly,
the
Honorable
emergency
Governor.
income grant have been implemented, and of course, as a result, the Minister of Finance have given us directives in terms of what to be done. Some of these directives include that we need to verify the beneficiaries that have applied. And of course, a verification list, a list of the beneficiaries was sent to the region. That is composed of 16,007 beneficiaries in total. And now what is expected is that this was channeled to the constituency councillors, and the constituency councillors have what we call the constituency COVID-19 task force or response committees. And then through those committees, every small component of that very committee is operating to ensure that every individual of that very constituency come and verify their name against the amount that they have applied for. Of course, we have to do a verification. There are those that couldn't apply because they didn't have network, or either they were not having mobile phones, or either they didn't have somebody to assist them in terms of applying. And as a result, there is a process which the councillors are registering those people and channeling them back to my office, to the governor's office, and back to the Minister of Finance for consideration. The IG. One of the challenges that we have with the EIG implementation is the NASFAF students that were, of course, they are in between there, but we are considering that as well. We have the issue of, as I have spoken before, the issue of COVID-19, we have touched on it. The challenges that we are experiencing in the region. The health personnel, I have touched on it to say that we are in short of 20 health personnel and 5 per district in terms of the health district that we have allocated. We are talking of a shortage of PPE materials or equipment. The PPEs that we have in the region, so far we were having 20, and that were reduced to 18. But as is, we have received some additional, which is 12 per district. And of course, we have 50 of them as backup. But as you know, these are once-off usage equipment. We would need more of that, but all this is catered for, and of course, included in our regional response plan. We do not have ventilators as a region, and of course, we are looking forward in terms of us sourcing those from a national federal governance command center. We have a challenge in terms of getting isolation facilities in Chumke area, and of course, through the constituency councillor and the COVID district committee, we are working in terms of ensuring that we get same.
Thank you very much, Honorable Governor.
We have a challenge.
That's all the time we have now, Honorable Governor. Honorable Erikwa, thank you very
Yes,
much. Thank you very
Deputy
much for that update. We now move over to the Zambezi region. Honorable Lawrence Sampofu. As we know, this is the furthest region in the country, but would like to hear from you, Honorable Governor, what has been your experience thus far with mitigating the effects of COVID-19 in your region, considering that your region also houses a quarantine facility, and how you are then putting in measures to ensure that there is no further spread of the virus. Honorable Sampofu?
Good morning, Comrade Deputy Minister. Good morning, Comrade Minister. All protocol observed. We are happy that we have to give this report today. As we know, His Excellency Dr. Hagegengo declared the state of emergency in respect of COVID-19 on the 20th of March 2020 for the whole country. And also, we should also thank the declaration of the lockdown. This in order to suppress transmission and reduce the possibility of further infection of the whole country. This is a measure to scale down unnecessary movements of people. We in the Zambezi region revamped our regional disaster risk management committee, where we put up some subcommittees to make sure that all people in the region have information about this COVID-19. The Committee on Communication and Mobilization, these are the committees which are using leaflets and also going on radio on a daily basis to inform the people about COVID-19 and what to do. The other committee is on safety and security. These are members of the police, the Namibian Defense Force, immigration officers, customs officers, in order to make sure that bars, shebeens, clubs, entertainment centers, street vendors throughout the region are closed. They do have also joint patrols in operations which were already done. As we know, we have a porous border, that is the dry border from Chekme to Katima Muliro, and from Katima Muliro to Impalila Island is a river border. And this river border is always, we have a problem of immigrants, illegal immigrants crossing through, most especially Zambia. They are coming in very big numbers every day, and they are being arrested. This is really a threat to our region. All borders were closed except for commercial transportations, and also the Namibians. We have created quarantine places. The first one is the Zambezi waterfront, where we had 92 people under quarantine, and now they have been exiting this quarantine because of their days, and also some houses were used to quarantine some people. So far, we have only 29 people under quarantine, and they will be exiting at different dates to different destinations. The other committee is on technical. This committee was tasked to see to it that people, they get water, and the water were opened or given to people up to now, where we have places far away from town. We are using water tankers to supply water to our people there. And in town, all those, even though we had their taps closed, they are now running. It is also looking at electricity, In some places, our boreholes, they use electricity, and the NORAD came in to open also these boreholes, and now the people are using running water, and also the sewer meters by the town council and also the Bukalo village council to see to it that the public are getting running water. We have also another committee on environmental and public management preparedness. This committee is ensuring that all businesses and public facilities adhere to these directives. We have also a committee on transport, as we know that we closed borders. The same applies to Botswana, and we have our people in Impalila Island. They are very far from all shops and all these things, so we had to employ Kapelaka Bajani ferry quickly, so that we take people, we bring people from Impalila Island to Katima Mulilo, they buy their foodstuffs and ferry them back. This is on a continuous basis to assist our people during this COVID time, because usually these people, they used to buy their foodstuff from Kasane and Botswana. We have also a finance committee which oversees submission of financial requests and also to receive donations from the public or business entities, and also to coordinate such donations with the regional council, and also if there are any finances or funds to be channeled to the National Disaster Fund. We have also a committee on food, which is really making sure that our people are getting some foodstuffs. The business communities, they are really coming on board to assist us providing food to the vulnerables, most especially those who were selling in open markets and vending in our streets, and also some vulnerables from the villages. The Safety and Security Committee also is manning the roadblocks at Namalubi. This is the roadblock to Ngoma, Botswana, and then the Liselo roadblock. Then we have Kongola roadblock, and also at Omega roadblock, which covers the whole Zone 1. And we are really happy with what they are doing, and also they are busy apprehending some people, most especially the trucks. Yeah, these trucks, they are carrying illegal immigrants in their trucks. They might be the illegal immigrants. They cross the porous border on foot and come and join the trucks later in Katima Mulilo. Then our roadblocks are working very hard to make sure that these people are apprehended. And so far, 81 people have been apprehended. These are illegal immigrants in the whole operation since COVID-19 period started. They are from Zambia, both in Katima Mulilo and also those who are trying to go to other zones. We are looking also at the challenges. The challenges, there are many challenges, is the border, the porous border, as I've already mentioned. And then the emergency income grant, $750. This is attracting many people, even from the villages, to come to town. Yeah, we have this lockdown, but in town, many people are there at the ATMs trying to get their money. People are so excited and all these things. They want to have that 750 and use it. And they are causing a lot of havoc in town, a lot of movements. But our security law enforcement agencies are on the ground to make them understand this, that they have to be 1 meter, the social distances put in place. The permits, the open market will open tomorrow, that's Monday, only for people who are selling food, only foodstuffs, nothing else to be sold at the market during these COVID times, because we have to assist our people. Those who have been selling at open markets, they are really suffering. And before all these days, we have been making sure that the place is disinfected, and that tomorrow they will be open. Still, during this difficult time, we call upon our residents to wash their hands, not to shake hands, and also no hugging. Make sure that they observe these regulations as they are being transmitted time to time to them. We are appealing to our people to avoid attending crowded places and gatherings such as funerals, the churches, weddings, bars, pubs, malls, markets, and the bribe places. Please stay at home and do not travel unnecessarily. Stay focused, listen and follow information being disseminated to keep you informed on latest prevention symptoms and transmission information. On that note, we can beat coronavirus, but only by working together and staying apart. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Governor, for that update. We now move over to the Omaheke region, where we have Honorable Piyo Ganate to then give us an update from his region on how they've been coping with COVID-19. Honorable Ganate.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Cognizance of the time, also cognizance of the fact that the issues under discussion are cross-cutting, as well as the various committees. Having listened to all the governors before me, I noticed that we have basically the same structures in place when it comes to the management of the COVID. However, what is very important to mention is that COVID, as much as it's devastating, as much as it's coming with all types of challenges, it is also challenging us to think out of space. In terms of the tranquility that we are now enjoying in the region, in terms of quietness, in terms of peace, because Shabins have been locked down, especially the unlicensed Shabins, I do not see any reason why they should be reopened whenever the situation comes to normality. The issue of grant is also another issue that is telling us that somehow we need to reverse it. The issue of grants in the country, because this they come very handy to people. We see them on social media expressing their joy towards government and the president. The issue of water and sanitation, our local authorities have opened up all taps that were closed. The issue of sanitation is being attended to. The issue of health facilities, all these things are things that we have to deal with during COVID now and beyond COVID. We need to engage already during this time of lockdown as to how do we go about after COVID, because we cannot go down and close taps again. So all the institutional arrangements, various committees have been put in place under the disaster risk management, the regional one. And we have a budget of 2.1 million that we think that should the ministry avail this money, we will be able to run our programs unhindered. We have also noted production sensitive because auctions, the cattle have reduced, the movement of farmers have been reduced. We are challenged on that aspect, and we do not have factories, we do not have businesses, but we have noticed the solidarity that fellow human beings are showing to little they produce, be it veggies, be it Omaheke, and be it some foodstuff. And we have noticed that people are really in solidarity with each other. On the information dissemination, the Ministry of Information is doing a tremendous job together with the various PROs in the regional council and the local authorities. They are doing a tremendous job in terms of education and information dissemination. When we look to surveillance, we're noticing that there's a team that is in place to run this program under the Ministry of Health. And I can mention that so far, Omaheke had 18 cases to date. Of these 18 cases, 9 have been discharged. They have been cleared with certificates. And this is another issue, the way I engage, for example, the medical doctors, both private and public, to try and look at how can we harness all the resources that are in place. All those doctors that are on farms, all those medical personnel that are on farms should come on board and help us to fight this disease. The issue of protective clothing remains a challenge to the medical fraternity, since we only have 50 of them and they are not sufficient. Then we have the issue of screening that is taking place at all our health facilities. We have isolation facilities at the hospital that can take care of 3 beds currently, but the capacity is 6 beds. And we have also quarantine facilities at Chakaben here, 50 kilometers from here. We have one at Duplessis Plus, 92 kilometers from Khomas. And we are looking at Nene putting up a screening, a quarantine facility as well. We have not experienced a lot of people being actually laid off from work, and we have intervened where some cases have come forth, and we have pleaded for cars are to use these cars in order to make sure that we maximize on resources that are available. On the issue of infection and prevention, as mentioned, Omaheke, we do not have reported any case so far, and also the 2 suspected cases have been tested and have been cleared. On food relief, that remains a challenge. Food will never be enough for all. We have 26,000 bags of maize meal and 35,000 tins of fish, and 24,000 cooking oil that will be distributed on a house to house to avoid chaos erupting. But we are pleading on fishing industries that in my brother Neville's region to come on board and to help us as a region. We are pleading on business communities to also come on board. Our banks, we are seeing countrywide people are crying for food. There will never be enough food for all. And that is why COVID-19 is calling for our relationship with God, our relationship with fellow human beings, and our relationship with nature. Our hearts must warm up towards next season in order to help them. I must also mention that the security apparatus has a similar structure in place, like the one that we're having a regional structure, and they are also running information dissemination and logistics on that basis. Committees running parallel and in cooperation with each other. I must also mention that the issue of stock theft is also rearing its ugly head, especially where we have seen that communities have taken the law in their own hands, arrested people, and there were cases reported where they went a little bit overboard physically as case. So that in a nutshell, so that I can give an opportunity to all the other governors to also bring their side, because all structures and all actions are basically in harmony with each other, and it's a duplication. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Governor, for that. It really shows that the regions are in sync in trying to fight the virus, and that they are doing all they can with all the measures put in place. Before I move over to the Musati region, perhaps I can give my in-studio governor, if she has one or two things to just add to what has been said by the other governors, if she has any.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deputy Minister. For me, it's just to honestly urge our private sectors and all the Namibians to come on board. As I said earlier on, the issue of food provision will never be enough. And we can only survive not necessarily survive, we can only win this fight if we can have enough food and distribute at once to all the beneficiaries that are affected. Otherwise, we'll just be scrambling for food, and I don't think it is serving us any purpose. The is to say this is a fight that all of us has to fight. And I must also ask the residents of Khomas region, regulation is set in place, because at many a times you find them at shops, the streets are full, and it only tells you that people seemingly have not really heard when we say stay at home. Maybe the hand washing is doing very good, but then the distancing is one of those challenges that we are still, experiencing, because you could have looked what happened here yesterday. I was trying to stress to say, please, arm's length, stay away from one another. But probably what was running in their mind was more to say, if I move backward and food comes, I may not get my portion. So I think it also, in a way, created some of those uncertainties. And then again, you look at the issue of the income grant. The income grant definitely is also giving us a bit of a headache. We were also trying to ask the ministry if we can have data of those that have received the income grant, because it's only then that we can take them out of away from, it's the only time that we can take them off the food parcels. Now it's like we are still duplicating because we do not have that data. And seriously, the pace at which the income grant is moving, you may give food parcel to the person today and then tomorrow you receive the income grant. So somewhere, somehow, we seem not to be coordinating that very well. But all in all, I must just say that this is the disease that finds us unprepared, but it is here to stay for now. What we should just do is just to fight together and make sure that we win this battle. Comrade Deputy, I do not know whether I should still stay longer, because I have to have a meeting starting from 11 o'clock to meet the 4 constituencies that I just gossiped to you here. And I'm sure the time was 11 o'clock.
Of course.
Now I want to believe they are gathered.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We
Thank
now move over to the live-in call by Honorable Agnes Njala, the Honorable Governor of Musati region. Honorable? Honorable? Not yet. Okay. Perhaps we can move over to Honorable Walde, the Honorable Governor of Ohangwena. Not on the phone call yet. We then move over to Honorable Sirka Ausiku, who is the Governor of Kavango West. All right. We are waiting for them to come online. Okay, we have Mr. Njala back. Honorable Njala. Good morning, Honorable Njala.
Good morning, ma'am.
How are you doing?
No, we are doing fine. How are you, ma'am?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you.
You may go ahead with the update on how far the Musati region has come to mitigate the impact of COVID-19.
No, thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. As it has been alluded by my other governors, Musati region is just part and parcel of the national COVID task force that is now interested to cascade the implementation down to the public. Now, as part of the preparedness, let me first start now with by saying that first and foremost, we have divided our strategies in three thematic areas. One is now the health, where we have now to tell the public about how ready are we when it comes to the outbreak of this COVID. Secondly, is now become the economic, and then we can also talk about the social. Let me first then touch on the issue of when it comes now to the real issue, the outbreak of COVID-19 in the region, preparedness in the region. Of course, Musati region is one of the worst, let me say, large affected due to its proximity with Angola, where we are sharing a long distance of stretch of this border. But of course, nevertheless, we have put in place all the mechanisms to make sure that we have protected our people. Now, during our preparation through the disaster risk management, we have come up with three strategies. One is the awareness campaign strategy, the resource mobilization strategy, and the deployment strategy. The awareness strategies through the Ministry of Health and Social Services being the custodian of the all health issues in the region. We have tasked them to come up with a regional health committee that will deal with the education and dissemination of information related to COVID, but in the same time also to collect data when it comes now to how many patients are being screened, or maybe how ready are we in terms of in our health facilities. Musati region comprises of 4 district hospitals, 6 health centers, 40 primary health care clinics, and then 137 outreach points. And these health facilities are also equipped with a well-trained personnel that is going to deal with all the COVID-related information in those centers. And we have also as part of the preparedness, we have put in place isolation rooms in all of those 4 district hospitals, where we have now to also elected a tent as a screen point where everybody who passes in has to be screened there, and any person found with the symptoms has to go to the isolation rooms that we have identified. But, taking into consideration that our region, due to the fact that we don't have the what we call ICU facility, we have identified a TB ward with a capacity of 25 to 30 in the abnormal situation, that we have lived as a regional isolation center for any COVID-related symptoms patients that may be identified. And we have also, in the same time, allocated some health personnel, like in all those 4 state hospitals. They have 1 doctor, 1 registered nurse, 1 enrolled nurse, a driver, and a cleaner. That is actually are there just for the COVID-related issues. And then we have also identified some quarantine centers to help in case if we have identified potential patients, but maybe they have a history of traveling outside or wherever. We have now shelter with a capacity of 56 beds. Then we have a business incubation center that was donated by the Ministry of Trade with approximately 15 rooms that we can also give available to the people. Then we have another business people that have come on board, like Shaduka Guest House, who avail its guest house for health personnel that are going to treat our patients. And also we have another business person that come on board from Oshipuku Guest House. Now we have also identified the Olufoko Center to be a reception area, specifically to cater for the Angolans that found themselves in Namibia during the lockdown and are not allowed to go back to Angola. We wanted now to accommodate them there. And in the same time also we are looking now for the homeless people that are perhaps they may be found in our localities that they don't have where to stay. We can also accommodate them there. Now, as part of the outreach programs, knowing that we have 5 declared port of entry between us and Angola, we have also put up a kind of a mobile clinic there, where we have dispatched one health personnel who's going to attend and screen all the people that are entering from Angola to Namibia. In terms of security cluster, taking into cognizance that we are sharing a long stretch of border between us and Angola, sometimes it becomes so difficult to control. But of course, as far as our concern is that at this present moment, we have made additional posts just to add to the 5 declared entrance that we have between us and Angola in order to curb the number of people to flock to Namibia. With some challenges, of course, but that is nevertheless, we are doing it much better. Now, when it comes to the community awareness, of course, there are some communities that are still not really understand the reasons why the head of state have declared the state of emergency. But of course, we have now intensified our information dissemination through radio and also through our police that are making patrol in the villages and also in our urban areas to make sure that the stay-home strategy is working. Now, we are also faced with economic challenges, because remember that there are some people that were surviving mostly on their informal trading activities. And due to the fact that now the regulation has banned all those formal and informal traders that are not essential, it affected them very negatively. But now we are very thankful that these restrictions are now lifted and our people are given the opportunity to trade with a full care assessment before we allow the opening of this informal. So far, we have registered all the formal and informal traders in our region to have a database. And in the same time, also, we have now clustered them into 4 main sectors. One is the formal that are operating in urban areas. Those are operating in the pre-urban areas, and you find those who are operating now outside in the rural areas. And those who are in the urban and the pre-urban are being taken care of by the municipality to make sure that the regulations are adhered to. And those who are in the rural areas, now the regional council and the traditional authorities are the custodian to make sure all the regulations are followed before we open up now the business. We have also to look at the social aspect. Social aspect, we are talking about the food shortage. Food shortage in the region is just an ongoing because, taking into consideration that last year we had a very severe drought that have really affected almost everybody. Still, these problems are still persistent. So far, as part of our effort, we have received 33,900 bags of maize meal and also something of fish that we have now to distribute through this COVID initiative to our beneficiaries. That was now divided among our 12 constituencies, and then it's the regional councillors that have now to identify the beneficiaries in order to make sure that we have, in the way, assist our people. Of course, the COVID have also come with its own challenges, specifically on the health sectors and then the security cluster. We still have a shortage of personnel. I'm very thankful that the Ministry of Health now currently is busy recruiting additional personnel. But then on the security cluster, I think is where we need the most. Otherwise, just to make the story short, is that our region is ready, and we are looking forward to make sure that we have kept the spreading of this COVID to go ahead, and we have also adhered to the regulations that were set by the National Task Force Committee to make sure that we apply the hygiene that's set, and also in the same time also to encourage our communities to adhere to the regulations.
Thank you very much, Honorable Governor, for that update. Viewers and listeners at home, just like to remind you that we are listening to the regional updates of our various governors, and that they're giving an update really on how their regions are coping with the impact of COVID-19 and the measures being put in place in all sectors to ensure that COVID-19 has no adverse effects post the pandemic. And that is the update they're giving this morning. I'm now joined by Honorable Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, who is the Minister of Health, really, to just also transition and add some information around. Of course, we have talked about quarantine facilities that are all over the country, and the numbers keep on increasing and decreasing and so on. But we'll talk all about that after we had an update from our next governor. So really, thank you very much, Honorable Shangula, for availing your time once again to just delve deeper into some of the issues we're talking about this morning. Okay. All right. The next governor to speak is Honorable Walden de Vashia, who is the Honorable Governor of the Ohangwena region. Good morning, Honorable Governor.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
You may go ahead with your update on how Ohangwena region is dealing with the impact of COVID-19.
Yes, thank you very much, Comrade Deputy Minister. Ohangwena region, in terms of preparedness, we are prepared, and what I can state from the onset is that up to this stage we are very fortunate. We did not record any case of COVID-19. In terms of other preparedness, I can start with the fact that we have isolation units that are prepared at Ngara Hospital with 8 beds, another hospital with 6 beds, and Okongo Hospital also with 8 beds. We also have a prefabricated structure which is fully equipped at Ngela Hospital. Enana also has an isolation center which has been put there. We have 2 evacuated housing units that has been specifically reserved for in case of quarantine at Enana Hospital. Okongo also, we have got some tents that has specifically been earmarked for quarantine purposes. Furthermore, we are glad that the region has received several equipments, additional health personnel. For example, at Ngela, we have received 4 14 registered nurses. In an hospital, 12 registered nurses. For Congo, 6. The total is 32 nurses. For emergency healthcare personnel, we received 4 for Inana, 8 for Ingela, and 2 for Congo. The total is 4. And the social worker, we had 1 for Congo and 1 for Nana. So we are really glad that the Ministry of Health has responded to our request and they've allocated additional personnel. To move on further, our health workers are well trained on how to deal with COVID-19, and screening is being done at a regular basis, especially for people that are at the border post. In case there are those that are passing the border post, you know that we are located close to Namibia and Angolan borders, or even though the borders are currently closed, we have a screening room in a 2-room isolation unit in Transit 1, which has been built at the Chicago border post, and is almost ready. I visited it last week with the Director of Health. The Namibia Industrial Development Agency, NIDA, has also donated 2 houses that are located at Chicago for quarantine purposes, and these houses can accommodate up to 17 people. We also made another contingent plan with one of the local hotels, Palmera Hotel in Chicago, which can accommodate more people if they can no longer fit on those houses that have been donated by NIDA. The police have been deployed at the borderlines to deter people from crossing the borders, and they are doing regular patrols. That's now in terms of security, safety, and security. Another aspect that I need to mention is also the issue, Ohangwena region is a region located close to the borderline. Most of our Angolan friends, nationals, they cross on a daily basis coming to Namibia, especially for medical services. They've been crossing for medical services. However, now that the borders are closed, our health workers have connected with their counterparts in Angola, and an arrangement has been done to supply the Angolan patients alongside the borders with their medications, particularly those who are on with chronic diseases like tuberculosis, those who are getting their ARV. So they collect their health passports and they collected their medicine. The health workers from Angola collect the medicine at the border post and they take them to the other side. I also visited these facilities, and this arrangement is working very well. There are also plans on the table for us to implement soon to conduct outreach services at the border sites in order to treat those who are sick. As you know, that there have been some cases also reported of malaria cases. This is a malaria season for those who need treatment. Now, in terms of other preparedness also, the Elawana Fidi Town Council, one of our local authorities in the Ohangwena region, they have also availed their business expo center for quarantine purposes, and also for some areas for isolation of patients if the situation gets off hand. In Enana, we have the multi-purpose use center and also the Birima Ngange Center at Mbaku, which is earmarked for quarantine purposes if need be. Our regional disaster risk management committee has been meeting every Thursday, and we discuss broadly on issues how to mitigate the effects of the COVID-19 in the region. All my 12 regional councillors have been attending the meetings. All our heads of representing the ministry, including myself, we attend these meetings just to get an update and also to come up with mitigating measures, how to deal with the situation if in case of any eventualities. In terms of the reopening of the informal traders, all our 3 towns, major local authorities in the region, are ready to open the markets for the informal traders as soon as next week. This morning I visited another open market, and I found them cleaning up and also disinfecting the market. They will be ready to start with the business for the people to be accommodated tomorrow. And they have also indicated that they have educated the public, and the markets will be operating within the strict regulations as per the number 109 of the directives relating to the open markets and the informal trading during the period of lockdown state of emergency, the regulations. Furthermore, the issue of the reconnection of water points and also supplying of water, most of our local authorities also have complied with the directive. They have opened the waters for those that have been reconnected, and also some of the rural water points that have been closed. We have received good reports during the last disaster management risk meeting that most of them have been opened up, even though, as you know, there are some of our areas, also particularly in the eastern part of our region, where really there is a big challenge with the supply of water, but we are trying our level best how to deal with the situation. In terms of the emergency income grants, as a region, we have registered over 35,000 beneficiaries. Those that have been identified have been facing challenges in terms of cell phone and mobile telecommunication network connectivity. Our regional councillors handling the process very well of the verification, and hopefully before the 6th of May, we will be done with the process to be able to communicate the names, the verified names, to the Ministry of Finance. Moving on to the challenges. One of the biggest challenges, particularly our business people have expressed, is that the closing of the businesses have affected them negatively. Economically, it affected them. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to engage some business people in Chicago, and they have really indicated that they have a special appeal to central government if they can be given, they can be exempted, particularly from the local authorities, from paying recent taxes for this month, particularly. Have not conducted any business, and it's going to be difficult for them to pay for their recent taxes, since they already, some are already struggling even to pay for their employees who have been sent home. The other aspects they've also raised is that government has made an announcement of an economic stimulus. However, the business people are appealing to the government that up to now, there have not been any communication in terms of the modalities, how this is going to be implemented, what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty. So there's a special appeal to the Ministry of Finance to really come out very clearly as to how this is going to be done in terms of support to the business community. The second challenge that we are facing, as you know, that the border lines between Namibia and Angola is quite very, very long, and even if the police, they are doing patrol, they are trying their best. Now and then there has been reported cases of people that have been moving, particularly from the other side and this side also, both citizens of both countries. They are passing through unsegregated entry points. And this is also one of the big challenges we have to face. And the second one is the aspects of the fact that most of our cattle holders have been having their cattle posts in Angola, looking for pastures. And they have some of their cattle holders that are locked out in Angola, and it's difficult for them to take food to them now. That is one challenge. They have also, some of them even approached my office for assistance. We had a discussion with the Director of Health, how they can be assisted to get a special payment for them to be able to move, if at all is possible. One of the last challenges that the people are in need of more food. You know, we have been getting the regular drought relief food. However, now that food is not enough, and secondly, also, as you know, that people are no longer even involved in business, engaging in business activities. Even those that have not been benefiting from the drought relief fund, they need food now. In the last meeting of the Disaster Risk Management Committee, this issue was discussed, and a special request was also then sent to the Office of the Prime Minister for additional food to be availed. Otherwise, people are really suffering, and we need additional food for us to be able to mitigate the impact of COVID-19. However, we are also not sitting idle. My office, we have engaged a number of business people in my region, and they have received a number of commitments. Some of them have pledged to donate food. to donate food parcels, and all this will be channeled through those of the chief regional officer, and then for us to be able to distribute them to the needy. Basically, and in a nutshell, Comrade Deputy Minister, from Ohangwena region, that's what we can report in terms of our preparedness as far as the COVID-19 is concerned.
Thank you very much, Honorable Governor, for that update. We appreciate it very much. Before we move over to our next governor, just briefly, Honorable Kalumbi, of course you hear that many of the issues are cross-cutting, and of course health remains the central issue here. With the Ministry of Health side, the support being given with regards to whether it's nurses at the different roadblocks or the quarantine facilities especially that are manned by healthcare workers to ensure that any suspected cases are taken care of. What the support being given by the ministry, how has it been so far, and how have the regions been supporting the work of the Ministry of Health?
Yeah, thank you very much. If we start with the quarantine, yes, we have a number of quarantine facilities, as I mentioned in the morning. And what is quite pleasing is the fact that the regions, as they have now been reporting, they are very much working together with the Ministry of Health and Social Services officials. So they are working as one team, and that's why they were able really to overcome whatever challenge has been there. We do not have any particular challenge as far as quarantines are concerned as of now. There were some hiccups at the beginning, but of course, you know that the beginning is always difficult. One is trying to put measures in place, etc., etc. But as time went on, everything is now moving smooth as far as the quarantine facilities are concerned. One question which has always been asked is why do we still have quarantine while the borders of Namibia has been closed? Yes, there are several reasons. We have Namibians who are outside of the country, and although the borders of Namibia are closed, they are open for Namibians to return back to their countries. Some went there for business, some went there for studies, and some went there maybe for medical reasons. Therefore, as long as we have Namibians in diaspora, the borders of Namibia will always be open for them, and they are always welcome back home. And immediately they arrive in Namibia, they will be quarantined as per our protocols. So the issue of the quarantines is working very well. Maybe let me also allude to one more issue which came out of the governor's reports, and which is also a matter of importance to us as a Ministry of Health and Social Services. That is the reopening of the informal markets. The COVID situation in Namibia has given us a unique opportunity to rectify what was not correct in the past. And the informal settlement is one of those. We have seen that the informal settlements have deteriorated to a stage which is not acceptable. The issue of hygiene and the crowding of people and generally not observing the basic hygiene principles. Now, with the lockdown in place, with the state of emergency in place, we have now that unique opportunity to put things right. I have visited a number of informal settlements before COVID-19. I've also visited some of them during COVID-19 when they were closed, and also those who are being prepared to be reopened. I must admit that most of those whom I have visited, like for example yesterday, I spent the whole day together with the Minister of Urban and Rural Development and also the mayor of the city of Windhoek, visiting almost all the informal markets which are in Windhoek. And that's why I strongly feel that we have a very unique opportunity to rectify the wrong. Not only that the market should be opened, but they should be opened under a different dispensation. The issue of cleanliness and the issue of abiding to the measures which are put in place to limit the transmission of COVID-19. Easing up where people will come and take whatever commodity they need, and they do not stay there, they go away. We also understand the plight of the traders or the vendors, because they need to have an income in order to sustain themselves. But at the same time, it must also be done in such a way that it is not an opportunity for transmission of COVID-19. When we talk about market being ready, it does not mean that it must be in the same situation it used to be before. It must be clearly understood that it has been properly disinfected. Where paint is necessary, it has been done. Where marking required has been done to ensure social distancing. And many other, the provision of ablution facilities, disposal of waste, etc. Everything must go on a different level from now onwards. And we should be seen as people who value cleanliness, who value hygiene. I must also say that this has also given us a good opportunity, because it does not mean that we are only dealing with COVID-19. The usual ailment, condition, diseases which have been in existence before, they are still there, and we have to combat them at the same time. With COVID measures, we are also at the same time addressing the problem of hepatitis E, which has been stubborn, persisting, especially in informal settlements, and the condition of its transmitters are more similar to the condition of COVID-19. And so with these measures, we are actually killing two birds with one stone. And I would like to ask the public really to continue to cooperate in this regard, so that we can together eliminate these two diseases. But let us not forget that other diseases, other programs, they are still ongoing. And therefore, I was also pleased when the governors mentioned that indeed the additional staff which we have now appointed have assumed duty in their region. So I just want to call upon everybody to cooperate. The update which I gave in this morning give us some hope that we are on the right trajectory, and we need not to relax measures that will create opportunity for the transmission of the COVID-19.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that. We now move over to a Skype call-in by Honorable Bonifacius Wakudumo, who is the Governor of Kavango East. Honorable? Good morning, Honorable Governor. Honorable Governor?
Are we okay?
Yes, good morning, Honorable Governor.
Thank you very much.
You may go ahead.
First and foremost, I would love really to thank the Excellency, who is the Chief in Command, the President of the Republic of Namibia, for a strategic and effective leadership on addressing the issue of COVID-19 in the Republic of Namibia. Having said that, as per your questions, how is our region by the pandemic, and how has the Governor's Office responded to mitigate the impact of COVID-19? On the Ministry of Health and Social Services, let me first start by saying that as a region, through the Regional Disaster Risk Management Committee Task Force, we have established the following clusters with regard to the fight of COVID-19 in the Kavango East region. We have a cluster for provision of water. We have a cluster for law enforcement. We have a cluster for resource mobilization and logistics. We have a cluster for communication and social mobilization. We have a cluster for health service provision. And finally, we have a cluster for vulnerable group assistance. Having said that, on the cluster for health, for the week under review, there are 2 suspected cases under quarantine. All are Namibians who came from outside the country through Botswana. One, a 16-year-old Namibian who came from Botswana. 2, a truck driver who came from the Republic of South Africa through Botswana-Namibia border. On quarantine facilities, renovations of the identified quarantine facilities at Nyangana in the Ndongarinena constituency and Popa malaria camp in Mukwe constituency will soon commence, as purchase orders have been received from the Ministry of Health and Social Services. 2 more facilities, Kivundu Guest House and Popa Falls Resort of Namibia Wild Tribe Resort have been secured for quarantine purposes. Furthermore, consultations to secure more facilities in the urban center is ongoing. Implementation of lockdown regulations. The implementation of the lockdown regulations in the region is being adhered to by the residents while the law enforcement agencies are on the ground to enforce it. Business communities and the public in general are also adhering to the social distancing regulations. On awareness campaign, the awareness campaign is ongoing through various platforms, including the distribution of information, education and communication materials, and the radio talk show on a daily basis by the Honorable Governor, Honorable Councillors, and the Cluster 4 Information and Social Mobilization Subcommittee of the Regional Disaster Risk Management Committee. On distribution of water in both urban and rural constituencies is progressing, going well. We have provided 6 water tanks in urban area and 10 water tanks in the rural constituencies. Both tanks, in terms of capacity, are 10,000 liter water tanks. In the urban area in Rundu Town, the Rundu Town Council have reconnected the disconnected water taps to provide water to the community in Rundu Town. On emergency income grants, registration of emergency income grant beneficiaries in all constituencies in the region is ongoing. It commenced on the 14th and will end on the 28th of April 2020. On opening of open markets in Rundu town, 3 open markets in Rundu were opened for traders on the 24th of April 2020 to sell both items under strict social distancing. However, we have some challenges.
Public servants and civil society, and also civil societies and also the security forces of our country, of whereby we have seated 24 hours in ensuring that, we put up the proper structures in response to COVID-19. First of all, what we have done, we have identified areas, and one of the first areas we have identified was Ohangwena Trade Fair, of whereby we have identified, as one of our centers, whereby we can host any cases of COVID-related, mild and so on. And also at the same time, we've also, put aside an installation center of 4 beds in Oshana State Hospital, which is partly equipped, let me put it that way. Yes, we have worked on Ohangwena Trade Fair Center, of whereby we have demarcated it, and also whereby we've demarcated into so that it can fit close to 350 beds. So as we are talking, we are done with that one. Under the 7 committees responsible for ensuring that we contain the this virus. And also just to report to the nation that yes, through through the task force committee, because as I said, we have combined forces of all the hospitals in the region, the powerful the private hospitals such as Ohangwena Medipark and Ondangwa Private Hospital, plus the state public hospitals. We have put up all forces, and whereby we had the combinations of 20 or 62 doctors and others, volunteers from the University of Namibia and all other and some nursing staff, and also public communities who avail themselves, to help with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, just to report to the nation is that yes, we have also received a very big house by one of our business committees at the Chico, Dr. Shapumba, whereby he has given us a house, as a call center. As we are talking now, we have done all the touch-up with regard to the house, so that, once the actual breakdown of cases are reported, people, some of our staff members will be operating from that center. And as we are talking, we've partly, equip it, for us to be, to respond to the virus. Yes, and that, we as a region, we always have a regional briefing on a weekly basis, twice in a week, and and also to be briefed by different committees on what is currently transpiring in the region. I must report to the nation that yes, Oshana, so far as we are talking, we have put up a committee of 30 volunteers, on public education or public awareness around the region. They have visited so far as we are talking. 95% of the region so far is covered. Now the only part we have not attended to is Okaukweyo, of which we will be dispatching a team soon to go and inform the community of Okaukweyo on the seriousness and the dangers, and more especially on the requirements, adherence of the disease. So, and as we're also talking, yes, with regard to the quest of the nations, and also the positive response by the president hearing the people with regard to our small decapanas, let me put it, the kapana vendors and others. Yes, we seated and we have put up a schematic plan of action with regard to the opening of this small market in all our 3 urban towns and also in all our peri-urban settlements where, selling is taking place, where these communities are surviving from. So we have put up measures in places already in responses to the requirements for them to be able to open up this open market. As we are talking, and we will definitely have to give a go-ahead to our community by Monday after our management task force committee meeting for us just to finally approve, our rollout plan with regard to the open market sellers and so on. Yes. Any other questions?
No, I think that's very clear, Honorable Governor.
Yes. Let the nation just be assured that, yes, Oshana, to anything regarding this COVID-19, yes, one thing I just forgotten to mention is the issues of security. We are in good cooperation with the security forces in the region, and we at times move together, around, giving this awareness and also informing the nation, the people, and also at the roadblocks. We go there and give them moral support and so on. And also one thing I must mention, we, on the community aspect, Oshana, we have received tremendous support from our business communities, more especially with regard to foodstuff, of which we have distributed our food to the community, more especially living in the informal settlements. From Dangwang, Diva, and Oshakati, we have given them. And also church communities, churches around the area, they have also taken, given their part, taking care of, 100 households and 200 households and so on. And many other institutions of Namibia, they have given their donations to the communities, and we have given these people because we fear a situation, what you are seeing on television. So we contain such. That's why it's not happening in Oshana. We pre-acted, so that, people cannot randomly just move around aimlessly and so on. But what we have done, we have mentally, stabilized them, and also at the same time, distributed food, more especially to the needy. And we have made them to understand that, yes, the food we have received, let's say, for example, 15 bags of maize meal, which is not enough for the sprawling, aging, population of Oshana. So what we have done is that, we have identified, of which myself and other councillors, we have been on the ground to assess and verify whether this is true. That these people really need assistance and so on. And the good thing is that, knowing, your community is such a good thing. So we have, and let others understand that, let them just wait. If there are those who have nothing really to put on the table. And they have understood it. And we said, so once, food comes in, we'll be able to. But also at the same time, the message with regard to distribution, we have also extended another word to the committee. Yes, because we have a presence and an apprehension with regard to the donations. So if the situation continues for quite a long time, it could be that we will no longer be in a position to be able to to afford and give food stuff to every community. So, but we are also urging them that let them also resort to backyard gardening for them to provide a small onion for themselves or for whatever they can, so that we can also arrest. Not only looking at the government, we know it's a crisis, it's an emergency, but let them also do at a backyard garden, because most of them, their water have been reconnected 100% throughout the region. There's nobody has to complain about it. We say, yes, once it's like this one, let's also, try to work on our garden and plant some other things. And the fortunate thing is that, the communities mostly in the rural areas got with us. Rainfall has brought some supply of, organic, traditional field food, like pumpkins and many other things, and small fauna, to the communities.
Thank you very much,
least,
Honorable
that's why
Governor.
there's not that much of a complaint. We must be thankful to the rainfall. It has also, assisted us. Otherwise, it would have been a problem. like last year when it was so,